On June 23, 1757, the British East India Company secured a decisive victory here at the Battle of Plassey. It gave them a foothold in Bengal, but more importantly, it bred a century of unchecked overconfidence. They believed their control over the subcontinent was absolute. Over the next 100 years, the East India Company systematically expanded its grip. They transitioned from a trading corporation into a political power, rewriting laws, draining wealth, and unseating local rulers. The real economic extraction began after the Battle of Buxar in 1764. The company secured the Diwani rights, the power to collect taxes, across Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. They used this immense local wealth to fund an ever-growing colonial army, effectively forcing Indians to pay for their own subjugation. Political resentment grew alongside these economic grievances. The company repeatedly humiliated local populations by annexing territories, most notably when they took over the wealthy state of Awadh and exiled its ruler, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. By early 1857, this Ferengi Raj, or foreign rule, had alienated the local princes, the rural peasants, and the sepoy soldiers alike. Local traditions were dismantled, loyalties were ignored, and a deep, simmering resentment united completely different sections of Indian society. The immediate trigger for the rebellion came down to a single piece of military hardware, the 1853 Enfield rifle. To load this weapon, soldiers had to bite off the ends of the greased paper cartridges. A rumor rapidly spread among the sepoys, the Indian soldiers employed by the British, that this grease was made from cow and pig fat. For Hindu and Muslim soldiers, biting these cartridges was a direct attack on their faith. The breaking point arrived on May 10, 1857, in the cantonment town of Meerut. Sepoys refused to use the cartridges, turned against their British officers, and broke open the local jail to free their imprisoned comrades. What started as a specific grievance over military equipment ignited a religiously charged mutiny. Years of economic and political frustration finally found an outlet. The sepoys began marching toward the capital. Looking at this historical map, you can see the primary rebellion zones shaded across the United Provinces and the Bengal Presidency. After the initial uprising in Meerut, the mutineers moved rapidly westward, carrying the revolt directly into Delhi. They converged on the Red Fort. Here, the rebels demanded that the aging Mughal ruler, Bahadur Shah Zafar, take command as the Emperor of India. Bahadur Shah Zafar possessed virtually no military power of his own, yet his agreement to lead provided the mutineers with crucial political legitimacy. It gave the scattered uprisings a unifying national symbol. With a recognized emperor, regional leaders stepped up to spearhead the charge across central India. Figures like Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi and Nana Sahib of Kanpur organized their own forces, fighting to reclaim their annexed territories. The resistance reached its absolute peak in Awadh. The British had deposed their Nawab just a year prior, and the backlash was staggering. British officials estimated that at least 3/4 of the adult male population in the region took up arms against them. The participation of peasants, artisans, and royalty transformed the conflict into a massive popular resistance. The British realized the original military mutiny had evolved into a widespread challenge to their authority. Despite this overwhelming civilian support, the rebellion eventually collapsed. The insurgents suffered from a lack of unified command and limited resources. Furthermore, many powerful Indian princely states chose to assist the British, providing them with crucial troops and supplies. Still, crushing the revolt required a massive, coordinated military campaign. In Awadh, it took the British nearly a year of brutal village-by-village fighting to finally recapture cities like Lucknow and re-establish control. The East India Company survived the battles, but it did not survive the political fallout. The British Parliament passed the Government of India Act in 1858, officially stripping the company of its administrative powers and ending its century-long corporate rule. Sovereignty over India was transferred directly to the British Crown, placing the subcontinent firmly under the control of Queen Victoria. This marked the official beginning of the British Raj. The 1857 uprising failed to expel the British, but it permanently dismantled the system of corporate exploitation by forcing a complete restructuring of colonial governance. The resistance provided the first major spark for modern Indian nationalism. To lock in the details for competitive exams, connect the primary rebellion centers and their leaders using the mnemonic DLJK equals BBLN. Here is the breakdown. D for Delhi matches B for Bahadur Shah Zafar. L for Lucknow matches B for Begum Hazrat Mahal. J for Jhansi with Lakshmibai, and K for Kanpur matches N for Nana Sahib. When facing objective-type questions, identify the specific cause requested. The immediate cause of the revolt was the introduction of the greased cartridges, while the primary political cause was the annexation of Awadh. Also, keep the exact timeline in mind. The mutiny in Meerut began on May 10, 1857. That is exactly 100 years after the British victory at the Battle of Plassey in 1757. To maximize your marks, focus on the causality, the specific reasons events occurred, and ensure you can map each leader to their region. If you master these connections, you will easily secure every point on this topic.